Welcome back to your favorite podcast, Two Homeschool Moms. I'm Nickie.
And I'm Ashlee. If you're looking for real, raw, and relatable moms who talk all things homeschool and mom life,
you're in the right place.
We want to say thank you to Homeschool Planet for sponsoring this episode. If you are new to hearing about Homeschool Planet, we encourage you to check out this amazing, life-changing digital planner. Homeschool Planet will make your life simpler by keeping home, school, and work schedules all in one place, accessible to anyone.
Yep, and my favorite part is to plan your entire school year in just a few minutes by seamlessly merging all your lesson plans from popular homeschool curriculum companies right into your calendar school year. Check out their 30-day free trial with no credit card required, which will be linked in the description box.
This month, Homeschool Planet is also offering 15% off all their lessons. Don't miss out on this great sale. I know I am stocking up on lesson plans for next year.
So, how was your Easter?
It was good. It was busy, because the kids got up like super early, and so they started the craziness at like 7:30, and then I feel like by the time like their whole thing ended, with Easter egg hunt and baskets, then my dad came over at like 10 to help me start cooking, because then the rest of the family was coming over at like 1. And so even though my dad's pretty like chill and low key, I still feel like I can't relax. So I just feel like I was like on it from like 7 a.m. until I think the last person left at like 7, last night. And the house was just a mess. Like there was just, the food and stuff everywhere. And I was like, all right. So I love hosting, but then at the same time, I don't enjoy like the aftermath of it, especially when I have to work the next day. Cause it's like, Nick's like, just leave it all, go to bed. So I woke up at 5 this morning and was doing all the dishes because I can't, I just cannot calm until it's all done. But it was good. The kids had a great Easter. We only have Nico, who's still, in the magic-ish part of it, but it's so much fun. The girls, I went in both of their rooms, that night, and they both had like Easter baskets like ready to go for the hunt. So even though they're like older, they're still like super into it. So that was fun. How was yours?
Well, the weekend was chaotic because we decided to take apart, we're getting rid of like a huge part of our china cabinet, like the top half that has like all the glass and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so we had to take, it's like 1,000 pounds from the top and the bottom together. So Josh had a bunch of his guys come over to help us move it out, but that meant we had to empty it, take out all the glass, take off all the doors. And so our living room was just covered in all the stuff that was in that cabinet. Because then we also had to take out the bottom stuff, like the dishes and stuff, to be able to move that away from the wall and stuff like that because it's so heavy.
Yeah.
So it was like I took Molly to horses, came home, and it was just like, it was like just like a bunch of crap everywhere. I have another word, but I decided to be nice. And I was just like, okay. So I decided while that was being tackled that I was going to tackle the bathroom. So it took me an hour to figure out how to put back like the face of the drawer because we painted the vanity. And so there was one drawer that didn't get put back because it was a pain in the butt to get the screws back on to like the base of the drawer. Mm-hmm. And I could not line them up for the life of me. And I'm like, I'd line one up and then the other one would like shift. And I'm like, I only have 2 hands. And I was literally going nuts. And so it took me like an hour to get that on. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to clean all the drawers out because we haven't probably cleaned the drawers out in years. Yeah. So I'm like, there's stuff in there that like, there was Vaseline tubes from like my grandma. I mean, I don't know if that stuff expires, but like I was not waiting to find out. So there was just like 2 garbage bags full. And then I'm like, well, if I'm doing the drawers, I might as well do the closet, the linen closet. So like I completely did that. And then I was already like exhausted by the time his friends came to help move the cabinet. Yeah. And so I'm like, crap, we moved this cabinet. And then we have to build the one that arrived that day so that we have somewhere to put the stuff. And I'm like, if we don't build it, Easter's the next day. Like, we're not going to have anywhere to sit. Or like, like where my cousin was coming over and I'm like, what are we going to do? So we had to stay up. We stayed up till like, I don't know, midnight on Saturday. Oh. It was a nightmare. And then we were so sore because we had to bend in all these awkward positions to like get the screws into the cabinet. And like, it was done. It's fine. It looks great. We have like a whole wall now that is just like, we never get to see that wall, because that china cabinet covered pretty much the whole wall.
Right.
So it really opened the room up, and like Easter was fine, but we were all really tired and like really sore. So it was like a lazy day of just like hanging around the house, and my cousin came, we ate, and we played apples to apples, which is always fun. Like we love that game. We didn't do like an Easter egg hunt. But I'll tell you, our Easter bunny,
Yeah.
he hides real eggs.
Oh yeah, we don't do that. Ours doesn't do that anymore.
Yeah, well, ours always has, and so it's always been like the tradition to color the eggs, and like we last year we missed one, and still MIA. I'm assuming the dog ate it because it never smelled.
Yeah.
But then we had one this year we couldn't find, and it magically, thankfully, got found towards the end of the day. But yeah, that's the glorious fun of using real eggs.
Yeah, and I'm just like really weird with food, and so like because you would boil them, make them, and dye them, and that's already a long process. But then if you hide them, most of the time it's not. The bunny does it, hours before they're found, and then like we would just throw them away because I'm like, I'm not eating that. And so then I was like, that's wasteful. Yeah, I'm super crazy with like food.
We totally eat it and like we survive, so
yeah, I'm sure it's fine. But then I just felt super wasteful, and I was like, okay, new idea. Plastic ones. But we didn't even color eggs this year actually because I didn't have it in me. We'll just say that. I didn't want to do it.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a busy, crazy, tiring weekend, and I finished my book yesterday. I read the Ward D by Frida McFadden.
Ooh, that's one of her like original thrillers, right?
Oh, I don't know.
I think it's one of her. I think it was before The Housemaid, like before all her new stuff.
Yeah, it was. I was not gonna lie. Like the first like 25%, I was like, oh my gosh, this is horrible, and like. Then it like really started to pick up, and then I really couldn't like figure it out, and then I was like sort of figuring it out. And I will say it's like the first book I think of hers that I was actually able to figure out how it ended. So it was still good though. I gave it 4 stars. It was just interesting because it really makes you question because it's literally in a psych ward. So like you're questioning like whether the person who's speaking is like legit or if the person she's speaking to is legit. Like it's so like mind game fun.
Oh, it sounds good. I love when you can't like trust the narrator. I love when it's like, are you? Like, okay, I don't know. That's fun.
It was good though. I liked it.
Maybe I'll read it because I read her latest book, The Teacher.
Yeah.
It wasn't even thriller-ish, to be honest. It was just really creepy and like cringy, and so I don't know about that. I got a little scared off from her, but maybe I'll go back to
I needed something to like decompress because of all like the crap going on. Yeah. And so I'm like, I need to spend at least like an hour just like shutting my brain off and just like relaxing. Plus, like I just like by the time people are seeing this, like all my curriculum videos have been up and like my choices are final. Like I'm not changing. I'm not doing anything. But
hold on, we're gonna record this moment. Nickie saying she's not changing anything, and we'll see how accurate that is next season.
True story. But yeah. I'm like, well, if you missed that, like go to my individual channel, check it out. I'm sure Ashlee's is up too by now.
Yeah.
But it's like just I needed that like breath of like, okay, I could calm down, I could read a book.
Yeah.
And just like move along. But yeah, today we have so many questions we want to talk about with you. We got a ton of, we asked people on Instagram and on YouTube what they wanted us to talk about and kind of like our final videos leading up to the end of our season. And we got a ton of them. So I just want to dive like right in and answer these hot topic questions.
Let's do it.
Are you ready?
Maybe. I don't know any. I know the questions when we asked like a couple weeks ago, but I don't know them now. So only Nickie has the questions.
I
So
got them.
this
They're all
may
in
be
a
a
printed
mess.
out stack of paper right here, ready to go.
Let's do it.
All right. So, question number 1. No, I don't like that one. What are some things to teach in your homeschool that perhaps is outside of traditional bookwork?
Am I answering first?
Sure, take a stab.
I don't know. I'm not prepared to answer first.
Well, I mean, we can always talk about like the life skills again and like everyday things and being a participator in your home and like the things that are your kids are always learning, right? Like it doesn't mean that we're not teaching them just because we're not teaching out of a book. Like they are literally learning from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to bed. And I think that's important to think that like there's really no like specific things that you need to like make sure you're teaching your kids outside of homeschool. Cause like no matter what, they're picking it up.
Yeah, just them participating in like day-to-day stuff. They're just going to learn the skills. And I mean, but maybe there's people though who don't have their kids participate in like chores or being a contributing member of the household. I think you and I both do that in our homes. So maybe those of you listening, if you don't have your child doing chores or don't have them taking care of something in the home, maybe that's something good to implement. Because not only does that teach them a skill, but it teaches them responsibility and being able to contribute.
Think about just like pets in general too. Like if you have a pet, my daughter just lost her cat, and I'll tell you, like the maturity around her in the last few weeks of just taking care of this pet while she knew it was like dying and not going to, make it much longer. Like,
yeah.
I didn't teach her how to do that. Like she knew by just like the empathy that she has as a person and how to really caretake for this animal. I mean, she laid on the floor of the living room for 2 nights in a row, like right next to the cat, and just like snuggled it and like put the water up to its mouth and just like completely took care of it, carried it after it died right into the vet. Like she was like that's her cat. And like you may sit there and think like, oh, it's just a pet, or oh, it's silly, but it's like the amount that she probably learned in that process is more than I can even like put to words. Like that's going to carry with her through her life.
Yeah, no book could have taught her how to do what she did, and she just had that like intuition to just know how to handle that situation.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we're sorry for your loss.
Yeah, I had no connection to the cat.
Yeah, I know, but still, it's still a sad thing. But Molly did great.
Yeah.
I was just gonna add that something I think that's not taught in books, and I'm pretty big on, is like financial literacy and like lending and banking. One, because I work in it and I meet adults all the time who don't know what they're doing financially. So even right now, both my daughters now have their own checking accounts and debit cards, and just, giving them that freedom of, you just have this plastic card that you could shop on Amazon with, and you could buy stuff, and you could easily spend all your money in a second, and teaching them those kind of things and checking your money on an app. And so that's something I think new that we've been doing, that it's not in a book. It's just life skills. It's kind of weird, right? Like teaching a kid how to download an app and like, it's different from when we were in school. That's not how banking was taught. It was taught writing checks and stuff. So, yeah.
What would you say your biggest struggle is in your homeschool and how you overcome it?
My biggest struggle is the balancing of like their co-op social activities, and because I'm in it right now. Like last week, they were home one day. They were only home on Wednesday. Every other day they had some event, either real co-op classes or some event. And it just is like this like stressful balance, because it's like, am I being too crazy, like making them do schoolwork? So like I made them do schoolwork on Saturday and this morning before they went to co-op. And then I'm like, am I being too much? Am I being crazy? But then, it's kind of like, well, you can't just be out partying all day either. Like you need to have some responsibility. So I've always struggled with that, is the balance of too much or too little, or
Well, that's why I feel like we've always ended our school year so early, because this is when, this is our busiest time is spring, because I feel like that's when our weather starts to get better. That's when things start being available in our community. That's when events start to get planned. And like, we always would end up like not schooling like you. And then I'd be like, are we ever going to finish? Like,
Yeah.
and we had that this week too. I think like I don't even remember what day it was, but we were out like all day. Oh, Friday, Good Friday.
Yeah.
Because both my husband and my mom was off. And so like we had something going on Thursday, so I'm like, well, we'll school on Friday then. We went to the zoo on Thursday, and like we were
yeah.
on till like 4:00, and I was like, well, we'll just do school on Friday. That's how flexible we could be.
Yeah.
And Friday came, and I'm like,
Right.
everyone's home, and now we go to the movies, and now we do this, and it was like, well. And then it was like we tried to do school, and it was like a meltdown happened. I'm like, just forget it. We'll just catch up with it next week.
Yep.
But this is like when it starts to get busy.
Yeah.
I would say like my struggle mostly is just like having like she's an only child, right? So like I struggle with separating it all between just like her doing independent things and me doing the other things because I'm the only one, like she's the only one I have to teach.
Right.
So I struggle there, but I've been overcoming it a lot lately because I just don't have the time. And it kind of forced me. And so she's, I work now. So like she has those 2 days that she's pretty independent. And, when they're put in those situations, they figure it out. So how would you balance homeschool, housework, cleaning, cooking, etc.?
So I think because we take care of all of those things, I think like time management and like prioritizing is definitely important because we can get sucked into we've been doing school all day and now I'm tired and I want to order dinner instead of making dinner. And so I think like meal wise, I do a lot of meal prep on the weekends just so because I know myself. I know I'm going to find the easy option. Like, oh, it's just easy to order Uber Eats, or go the drive-through. So meal prepping is something I do a lot and it saves me so much time during the week. Planning on my homeschool planet planner because I don't really have to think about like what we're doing for homeschool that week. I mean, I can just log on for 10 minutes Monday and be like, yep, my week is set. I know what we're doing. And we both used to spend a ton of time with our paper planners on the weekend. And so that doesn't exist anymore for me. And so that freed up a lot of my weekend time to do chores.
Yeah, and I feel like, we both used to like stress over how the rest of our year was going to look like. And like Homeschool Planner took that away because we could easily plan our entire year and like take the hour, 2 hours to sit down and really like plan out the whole year. And then once that's done, it's done.
Yeah.
It takes us you said 10 minutes. I mean, I'm like, I print it out. I look it over like 2 minutes, maybe 5 minutes at the most.
Yeah.
Maybe I got to print something. But it's all like boom, boom, boom right there on a page. And like, I'm done. And like, we've never looked back.
Yeah, I agree. And so like when I was talking about like what stresses me out with like what I'm struggling with, and that's what it is. So I get so stressed out that my kids missed all the schoolwork, right? And if I didn't have Homeschool Planet, that would be me flipping through curriculum books. Like, I don't know where you're supposed to be at. I literally just log in and say, no, they didn't do this. Yes, they did this. And it just like refigures it out for me.
Yep.
And then it calms me because I'm like, all right, we're still going to finish on time. Like, it's going to be okay. And so I guess that does help a ton with that because, yeah, last year I would have been crying trying to figure it out on my own.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
You have any other tips you do for balancing it all?
No, I'm a hot mess otherwise. I'm the kind of person that like when I want to do something, I want to do it all. So like today, for instance, I freaking washed my bedding, bought new bedding. It came right away. Washed that bedding, put it on the bed. And then I'm like, okay, I need to clean my homeschool area. It's like, it's probably the cleanest you've ever seen it. And like, it was just like this list that I was like, boom, boom, boom. I want to tackle it all, which is part of the house projects. Like we're doing it all. Like I'm painting that, I'm painting this, I'm painting that. And it's like, cause I want it done. I want to like see the accomplishment and not like, no, I gotta do that again tomorrow.
Yeah. Waiting.
So, like, getting it all done for me is like how I just minimize my week. I know I'm not going to have laundry to do the rest of the week.
Mm-hmm.
So like for me, I know that then I can spend time doing more of something else.
Okay.
So that's how I balance. I don't know if it's effective or not, but it's how I
It
do it.
works. Yeah, if it works for you.
Okay, let's move on. What do you do for you as a homeschool mom?
Well, read books. I mean, I don't really do anything. I don't know. I think we've talked about this. I'm just not like a do things on my own type person, anyways. And so
Well,
reading's
you
the
work
only thing.
out. You have like a workout
Yeah, I
routine.
do work out a lot, and that is something I do. Well, Mila's been joining my workouts lately, which is fun. But then too, I feel like sometimes I have to go easier because she's, struggling with some weights. So yeah, I do work out. Yeah, working out and reading books. But I just like love cooking and like love like being around my family too. So I don't know. What do you do? I talk to you.
Right? I'm like, I always know my morning text is typically not even from my husband. It'll be like asking me at, the time I wake up, because the time I wake up is the time you wake up. It's just
Yeah.
like 2 hour difference magically. So it's so funny because I was down here like ready to get school down, and this morning you texted me and I'm like, okay, we're already on to how was your Easter? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to tell you because we're filming today. I'll just tell you then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I read a lot more recently than anything in the last like year. Oh my God,
Yeah.
almost a year already. I started in
Mm-hmm.
May where I was
Yeah.
like starting my obsession of reading again. I do Zumba. I love to go out in nature, even if it's with my kid, but I would do it by myself, I guess. I love plants, so it's getting into plant season. I'm so freaking excited to like have my plants outside and my flowers, and obsess over like going outside to water them every morning and like deadhead them.
I don't even know
That's
what that
very new
means.
for me.
I don't even know what that means.
Please pull out the dead ones. Like you're supposed to pull them off, otherwise they like won't keep growing.
No idea, Nicki. I am
So,
not a nature person, so
well, this is very new. I just got into flowers last year.
okay.
Um, so I'm excited for it for this year. And oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, I wrote like a whole chapter last night.
Shut up. Of like a new thing? Like a
Yep,
new Oh, well look at you go.
a whole freaking chapter.
Okay, I'm
Like 1 in the
excited.
morning
How
on
is
my
that like
phone.
30 minutes into our conversation? Now you say that.
I forgot all about it. So I'm like, oh, it just like, I don't know, it just popped into my head. I mean, I haven't wrote in like 4 years.
Yeah.
Which nobody even knows that, so that's cool.
I was
But
just gonna say, if you didn't know, Nicki's an author, so
yeah, yeah, But yeah, it's been a while, so we'll see
cool.
where this leads. But it was just some random idea.
Yeah.
Started with a name. That's how it went.
Well, that sounds really exciting. And does that like fill your cup? Like, do you feel good when you
Mm,
write? Yeah,
mm-hmm.
that's
Yep.
cool.
Online curriculum options for working parents.
Well, I'll share Nicole, the math lady, but she uses Saxon Math. We obviously love her and that program, and so that helps a lot. We used to use one from Mr. D Math, but it was a foreign language. It was an American Sign Language course, and I really liked that one because it was video lessons, but there was like printout homework, and then Emma actually would have to film herself as her homework because it's sign language, so you kind of have to see what she's doing and turn it in. And so having that kind of help and like accountability from like a teacher helped a lot too, because I really could not have anything to do with those courses. There's other people helping me. So those are probably two of my top favorite ones. What about you?
I mean, I don't have any online suggestions really. We don't use any online curriculums currently. Next year we'll be using The Good and the Beautiful Math, which, oh boy, I mean, here we are. But I only chose it because it is written to the student. They're just allowing her to be completely independent with it. and it also is a video option. So like it has the lesson on the page, and then it also has like a lesson in a video. So like she could choose if it's a concept that she's familiar with, maybe she forgoes the video and just reads the page. Or if it's a new concept and she needs extra practice or needs help understanding it, she can choose to watch the video. We were going to try Easy Peasy, which is all online, but that just, I'm not, there's nothing bad about the curriculum. It just wasn't going to work for us. But everything is online, and the only thing I would say about Easy Peasy, though, is you have to be careful because nothing's recorded.
Yeah, right.
So, like, there's no way for you to really, like, check their work after the fact unless you purchase the physical copies to go with it. So, yeah, I mean, I only work 2 times a week, so it's probably not the best question for me. And everything that she does on the one day that I'm gone, that she's pretty independent, is like her handwriting and like I teach a lesson like ahead of time for math, the one that we're using right now. So she only has to do like the practice problems on her own. And then she does reading on that day because that's easy enough for her to do on her own.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I did when I first started homeschooling and I worked out of the home. We used Me Academy a lot because it was easy for them. I could assign stuff. They could just log in and complete it. It was, super short lessons. I do know a lot of people that use like, I want to say like a Celis online where like 100% of the homeschool's online. And like, that's kind of that conversation I have with a lot of these other homeschool parents. I'm like, how are your kids doing school? Like, I feel overwhelmed. My kids are never home. And like, I feel like their kids do even more because they don't have a working mom.
Right.
And I think a lot of them do those online type things where everything's 100% online. But like I said, we did Me Academy in the very beginning. But I don't like that method for my kids. Like, I like teaching them what I can, and so that's why I pick and choose. Like, sure, math can get taken off my plate gladly, but I like the other kind of stuff. And there's plenty of like book curriculum that's independent. Like you were saying, like The Good and the Beautiful starts that independence. Moving Beyond the Page starts independent. So don't automatically think it has to be online to be independent, because too, online stuff isn't always the easiest. Kids can manipulate online systems a little bit easier than like book work, I think.
Right.
So
yeah, I agree.
That's what I'll say to that one.
Yeah, and the more you prep them and they understand it, I mean, your kids are smart. Like, they're going to figure out how to be able to do some of the stuff on their own. So it's all about the balance and finding what you can do. If that means you're schooling at 7 o'clock at night before bed, if that means you're schooling at, 7 o'clock before you have to start work, I mean, you have to find what works best for you in your homeschool.
Yeah.
Okay, moving along. Someone said looking forward to all, especially April 1st. Well, thank you. Very excited.
What was our April 1st episode? Oh, it was the learning styles one.
Yeah.
Okay. It was a good one.
How do you budget your homeschool? Can we just both say we fail at this?
Yeah, I do remember this question. I was like, I don't want to answer that. I don't, unfortunately, budget. And I want to go back because I buy stuff all throughout the year, right? So it's not ever one big purchase. But I'm like, I would be so nervous to like go back and be like, how much should I spend this year on curriculum?
Oh no, like I see people do videos of that all the time where they're like, look at what we spent on homeschool this year. And they're like showing receipts, and I'm like, oh, no one wants to see that.
Yeah, I don't want to share that.
I don't want to see that. It's like a click, and I don't want to ever look at that page again or that email, Like, we are not your gal for that topic. But if I had to take a stab, use what you have first before buying the shiny things. And then, really, really figure out what you need in your home. And go from there, because there's always a cheaper alternative or resources and stuff. You can get all different places. And like discuss it with your spouse if you have one, or if you're a gosh, what is that called? I can't talk today. single mom. There we go.
Okay.
Or parents, man, woman, whatever. You know, you do what makes it work. I know people who just like don't do anything because they just don't care about curriculum. They know they can find the resources otherwise. So like, it's really about how much you really want to spend.
Yeah. And what I used to tell people, I think somebody asked me this before, like what I would honestly do, like if I really had to like budget, like if I would almost do it like a year ahead and say, what can I afford monthly? You know, I have 3 kids. If I can afford $100 a month to spend on curriculum or outings, you times that by 12. And if you're buying a year curriculum, you know, that's $1,200 you could spend on curriculum. And sometimes it's just easier seeing that number in a monthly figure for budgeting than one large lump sum.
Or I know if you check out with like PayPal, you can use Pay in 4. There's lots of different options. How do you plan out your year or decide what months and how long to homeschool?
Oh my gosh, yes. Homeschool Planet. 100%. Because I do like the school year set up first. So basically you like set up a new school year and I know like around where we want to start and end, but then you can like pre-fill in your holidays and your days off and it like just calculates everything. It's like this is how many days you're doing school. And then when you input your curriculum, then you can really see with all like those lesson plans, you know, how long is 120 lessons going to take you? And it just is magic.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like it's really based on what you want, what your state requires. I mean, I don't have any limitations, so I can school 150 days and be done if I really want it to be. And half the time we don't make it to 180 days because, I mean, we just end up finishing before that. And so even with our 120 lessons, because like I said, we take off all of December, but then we don't take literally like ever any other time off. So like we still manage to get everything done in a school year. And like I said in the beginning of this episode, is spring's our busiest time. So I know for a fact that we end around April, May, beginning of May, typically end of April, and we start in July.
Right.
So I know that I have enough time from July to December before we have our big break to get everything in that we need to. And then I know we have a nice long break and then we're back at it in January 1st or 2nd or whatever. Not on January 1st, just kidding. But yeah, I mean, it's really just based on your choice and your state requirements.
Yeah, and it's like, what are you considering like a school day or school year, right? Because like I only schedule school days as like sit down book work. But like over summer, like we're going to state parks and like national parks. Like, so you have to get out of your mind too, like homeschooling is all the time. Like the learning really never stops. It's just like, what do you want to schedule? And yeah, I think it would depend on your state. Like my state's the same. They don't care. I was literally talking to people yesterday. They're like, so how do you tell like the school district what you're doing? I'm like, I don't. Like our state literally does not care what I'm doing, whether that's good or bad. But
okay, but that's easy still. They make tons of printouts for you to record the field trips you go on and the books you read and all the things that you're doing outside of book work, so to say. So like us, I count Fridays in our homeschool, even though we don't homeschool on Fridays because we're always going somewhere doing something. And it's still considered schooling to me. It's just not out of a book. So, I mean, Homeschool Planet, I mean, that that helps me out a lot there too. So, okay. So that also relates to the topic of your child being on track, as, you know, on track to who? I guess that's the question you first need to ask yourself, because we shouldn't really be comparing in our homeschool to where our child should be academically, because we all learn at different rates, and that's the beauty of homeschool. Especially in early elementary and stuff like that. Like your child does not need to read in kindergarten. You know, like it's what we're basing it off of on what we see from the public school side of things. But like it doesn't have to be that way in our homeschool. And so we don't need to be on track of anything. But what helps us stay on track, or at least me stay on track, is once again Homeschool Planet, because I do my whole year at the same time. And so I know, we are way behind in that subject.
Mm-hmm.
And I know if I space it out where it's going to fall on my calendar. I know we're talking about Homeschool Planet a lot, but like we're literally obsessed because it's literally changed our lives in that
It's a
way.
huge part of our homeschool, and most of these questions we've like resolved because of
Right.
this, I think.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. On track, I will say. I do test my kids, which is not, I know, a homeschool norm, but my kids take a test that compares to themselves. And so like, Mila takes a test every year and I know her results from her previous year. So she's comparing against her. Like, has she grown in math over the past year? And like, as a homeschool mom, like, yeah, I hope she's grown in a subject over a year, but that's not meant to like compare her. So I do use tools like that because it definitely helps like my confidence level of feeling like they're on track. But again, that's like literally my own mindset. There's no book telling me yes or no, they're here or not,
Okay, let's try to power through 3 more because I think the last 3 are pretty good topics. What are our thoughts on homeschool trends like morning basket, poetry tea time, nature journaling? I mean, if y'all know us, or if you're
No.
new here, let me introduce you. I'm Nickie and that's Ashlee, and we don't do any of that stuff because who has time for that? I mean, we don't.
No.
Nor do we kind of incorporate that throughout our day, and it's not like late. Like, I have tried, let me tell you, the amount of videos I have on my individual channel of morning basket and trying to do a morning basket. There's a lot, let me tell you. That's just not, I've just given up on the fact because we are so regimented and routined with our homeschool. We come down here at 8:30 in the morning. Like, she wakes up at 8, or around 8, she eats her breakfast, and we come downstairs right away. Like, there is no morning basket, let's wake up and stretch and yawn and do some no, like, we're not. It's just not our style, and you all do you, but like, it's not me.
Yeah, I think it's very gimmicky, to be honest.
Yeah.
Where
It
does the
can be
term morning basket only exist for social media? Because that's where you see it. You see the pretty Instagram layouts. You see somebody
Right.
filming a YouTube video. And yeah, like there's times where we all sit and I read like a specific book about something, right? And so sure, we can call it morning time, but like, or morning basket. Yeah, I'm not. To me, it feels like that whole gentle parenting thing, like this, and like that's just not me. My kids are not
That's just
gentle
not me.
kids either. Like they're like, let's get my stuff done. Like we don't hold hands and sing songs. Like, well, I do with Nico, but like, you know what I mean? Like it's just not. Sorry, guys, if we broke your heart on that one.
We don't sing Kumbaya. And yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
Cool.
Not us. I don't nature journal. I just go out in nature.
Yeah, like if we're outside, we need a break from like books and pens. So yeah, we like taking walks and stuff, but they don't need to journal about a leaf they saw.
You know what? My version of nature journaling is getting on my phone and videoing or like taking pictures. That's my version of nature journaling.
Yeah.
Okay, what can we do for mom mental health?
Setting boundaries, having that outlet, like we were talking about, like if it's working out, if it's reading a book. There are so many moms who I think lose their identity, like as them as a person. Like, yes, you're a mom, and yes, you're a homeschool mom, but you're also you. And so you have to like separate yourself.
One of my best friends, she always says, anytime she meets someone that I've been around her, she's always like, what do you do for fun? And the amount of times that people are like, well, we have kids. So, like, she's like, what do you like to do? What fills your bucket? Like, there's more to us than just having kids, even if that means going to the gym or having coffee outside with the birds, like, you have to find your groove. You have to find you. Because like you said, we lose our identity through motherhood, I think. And it becomes, as much as it's a blessing and a wonderful thing to experience, we are still a person outside of that.
Yeah. And, our kids are only with us a short period of time before they become adults and live their own lives. And so we have to still be a person once that's gone. And if you like get to that point and you're like, what am I supposed to do?
But that's why I think people struggle with like the empty nest phase, you know, because they're like, they look at their husbands and they just look at each other because they've lost sight of all of that. Yeah. So what are some cool end of school celebration ideas?
So I did this. I didn't do one last year, but the year before I threw like a luau summer party, which was cute. Yeah. But then I
remember that.
Yeah, I made them each like little graduation certificates that they like passed that grade. I made them like little class of t-shirts, and like they still wear those. And so I think they thought it was super cheesy when I did it, but they still like have it all. So we're doing one again this year. So I failed last summer doing one. This summer I'm going to do, I think, the same type of like little thing. And I just realized Emma's, done with elementary school, right? And so I don't know what I was doing, but I'm like, oh, there's normally like a 5th grade graduation, to like go into middle school. And so I'm like, I got to figure something out to make that special,
I didn't have that because I graduated from 8th grade. So because I went to Catholic school. So I was like pre-K to 8th grade, nothing in between. Like we didn't celebrate crap. But we don't do anything. We sign, I give her one of those little like completion certificates, but it was usually from the Good of the Beautiful because we did that for so many years. Yeah. And then she fills out like, we do that like beginning of the year sheet and like end of the year sheet that has all like the questions or whatnot. But I'm like, I wish like we usually go on vacation or do something like, I don't know, we just go ham. Yeah. Nothing. We're so boring. Anyways, that wraps up our video today, our podcast, wherever you're listening from. And we'll see you in our next one.
Bye, guys.
Bye. We want to hear from you. Your feedback is invaluable to us, so let us know your thoughts on today's episode. Share your topic suggestions or ask us any burning questions you may have. Your input shapes the direction of our podcast, and we're here to create content that resonates with you.
If you enjoy listening to homeschool stories, curriculum reviews, advice, struggles, and overall mom life, this podcast is for you. But so is our YouTube channels.
Don't forget to check out our individual channels. We share even more content, insights, and a behind-the-scenes look at our lives. Thanks for listening.